Howdy, my name is Jason Pavic, and welcome to the beta presentation of my master's thesis on interactive UI design for virtual reality. My scene explores the future of digital interaction from inside of a spacefaring vessel. I was inspired by the fact that a lot of technology that NASA and other space agencies are currently using is still mostly based on their designs from the 1960s. I am imagining a near future where space travel is done by non-government civilians, and in my scene takes place inside a room that would be attached to a civilian ship. My three focused areas of mastery are diegetic user interface, virtual reality, and interactions. Diegetic user interface. The user interface elements are not just visual instructional elements of how the player should interact with the scene, but instead the UI menu and in-world icons are the main way that the player does any form of interaction, whether it's purely digital or if it is integrated alongside a greater mechanical system. For virtual reality, it was important to me that my project forces the player to be the space traveler and not just an outside observer. Virtual reality improves both the user interface and mechanical interactions, and that is much more tactile and personal when inside a VR headset and using motion controllers. It is very important to note that virtual reality has very different needs from traditional single monitor computer gaming. It is critical to maintain a high constant frame rate or you'll make your players motion sick. I developed my project in a way that should be hardware agnostic towards the VR headsets, but I've only truly tested with the Oculus Rift S. So when I say VR, I'm saying VR in the Oculus Rift S. The Oculus Rift S projects 2,560 pixels by 1440 pixels of resolution at 80 frames per second. In virtual reality, user interfaces need to be built with special considerations that are often overlooked in traditional game development. Legibility, visual depth, and interactivity play a key role in making successful UI components in a VR scene. For interactables, the interactables in the scene needed to directly tie into the other two masteries, and I designed the generator mechanism around the idea of it giving and receiving influence from interactions with the various UI elements. Alright, that's enough talking for now. Let's check out the scene. Alright, so now I'm here inside my scene, and as you can probably tell, I'm in virtual reality. How do I know this? I can freely look around any direction, up, down, right, left, backwards. I have full freedom of movement to navigate the space. One of the first things you may notice is I have this red menu button on my left wrist. When I press it, this data menu opens up. When I press the button again, it goes away. This data pad is connected to my hand, so I can move it, take it with me anywhere I go, and I can view it from different angles. If I need to see it up close, I can see it up close. If I need to see it far away, I can see it far away. It's clean, it's legible, it goes around with me. And now, with this open, the first thing I'm going to look at is the top left. It says Generator Access Lock Engaged. And you might be saying, well, what does that mean? Well, when I look at this big machine in the room, I see the same lock that's there. It's like, oh, that must be the generator. Okay, so I'm going to want to press a button. And I see it lights up green there. And it also lights up green here. And it says Inner Core Unlocked. But it also updated in the TV up there. It updated here. And it updated right there on the menu. So when I press something else, it keeps updating everywhere at the same time. So these buttons are not just visual, but they are functional, and they update each other in real time. Okay. So now when that says unlocked, I don't know how to open it. What does that mean? Well, I press this here. It says grab and pull here to open the generator. It's like, oh, okay, this little ball here must be what I can pull to open. And so when I slide it open, I see this red ball that's not really moving there. And it's what does that mean? And so I look back at my menu, and I see Atom Exhausted with this little drawing here. And it's like, oh, that looks kind of like that. replace the exhausted atom in the generator core with a fresh atom. It's like, well, what does that mean? What is a fresh atom? But I look over here and I see this green spinning ball that looks a lot like that red one. And when I press the question mark, fresh atoms belong in the generator core. It's like, oh, okay, so this is the dead atom inside the core. Maybe I can pull it out. And when I grab it with my hand, it sticks to my hand for a second and slowly expands out and then collapses in on itself and just disappears. It's like, oh, well, I guess the dead atom's gone. Let me grab the fresh one and snap it into place. Now here it says atom stable, atom performing at optimal efficiency, and it's green. Well, that's good. Okay, so then my next instinct will be to look at the next part of my data pad. Up here in the middle, I see this hexagon with dots, and these 3 dots. 2 are green, 1 is red. What could that possibly mean? Okay, so I look around the room. That icon looks a lot like the outer ring, but not the inner ring. So I click on that. The inner part of the generator closes automatically, and the ring on the outside updated to look like that icon. And I also noticed this text underneath that says chip 1 functional, chip 2 functional, chip 3 missing. I don't know what that means yet, but I know I can pull this open, so I'm going to pull it open and see what happens. I also may notice I have freedom to rotate this. And anyone who's looking inside this will notice one key thing. There are these 2 chips, one on the left side and one on the underside, but this third one is missing. Well, I recognize those 3 dots from these 3 dots. And maybe the missing one is what that red dot means up there. Well, I look over here, and I notice this says bring chip to mid generator. Okay, cool. This looks a lot like those other ones that I saw. And the front of it looks like that, so it lets me know that I'm in the right place. And the back of it has the 3 dots, which makes me think I can snap this into place right here. And so I attempt to do that. And look, it snaps into place, it animates in place, all is good and well. And this little block, don't really need it anymore, so I'm just going to set it to the side. And now I can close this. And now it says chip 3 is functional, just like chip 1 and chip 2. And the dot has updated to green. Everything's good to go. Okay, well, what's on the bottom? Routinely inspect generator shell for optimal peak efficiency. It's like, okay. Let's see. That looks like that icon. So let's see what's in here. And inside, it's spinning. It has these UI elements that are saying update. So I can press these buttons with my finger. They turn yellow and load, and then eventually they turn blue. And I can go around and do that 6 times. And, well, they must all be updated now. Everything looks good to go. Blue is generally a good sign. It's like, okay, great. I checked the shell and everything looks good. Let's close this up now. Okay, and if I look up on the right, it lets me know that it's unlocked, and it lets me know that the generator shell is open. But then it says radio off, and it's like, well, what is do I have a radio? That's strange. I didn't know I had that. And so the only thing I see here that says off is this little red button here. I press that to on, and I see a little radio wave moving here. And I don't know if it shows up in the recording, but there is sound playing. And right now it says Radio Strauss 2, because that's the composer who made this song. All right, well, I see the slider here. Let's see what happens when I click over to the side. Oh, and now the radio wave has changed, and it's playing audio from the Apollo 11 recording. And all the way on the left, it's playing a different song. It's like, okay, this is neat, but it's a bit distracting, so I'm going to turn it off for now. The reason I included the radio is because radios are often considered the most essential part of an astronaut's tool set. Without a radio, you're dead in space. It's that simple. Information is the most important part of surviving in space. Radio is the primary form that astronauts receive information, and the other form is visual, as I'm showing here. And with this is a good general tool set for someone to survive in space. With these general foundations, you could create many additional tool sets. But for my scene, I trimmed it down to what I felt were the bare essentials for designing a game of this sort. Thank you again for listening to my beta presentation, and please read my documentation for deeper details in systems and how I made everything work. Thank you.